Good evening, everyone, and welcome to class. This is already 5 o'clock, so we are just going to give 5 more minutes for others to join in. Party chairpersons, please alert your members to join, and the ED is already in class. So see you guys by 5:05. Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone, once again, and welcome to class. And this is already 5:04, 5:05, and we'll start immediately. So I'll just be reading the bio of our facilitator for today's class. That is the ED, Kule Lawal. Kule Lawal is an entrepreneur, an idea generator, politician, TEDx speaker, and patriot. He has a keen eye for opportunities based on his experience in politics and working with non-governmental organizations and the federal government. He's passionate about Nigeria and is what could be termed as the tribalized Nigerian. He considers his boundaries to be limitless and is really focused on changing the Nigerian narrative in political participation. He currently serves as the executive director of the Electoral College of Nigeria. Kule Lawal was once acting national publicity secretary of the Kowa party, and in his time, they built 6 state structures and developed the e-membership system, which fetched you an e-membership card in 2 minutes and conducive the only election in a political party ratified by INEC. He was the FCT Alliance for New Nigerian Senatorial Candidates in 2019. Apart from having a phenomenal race, he ran with 49 pieces of legislation, which he hoped to use when he won, and has since transitioned to a non-partisan, influential player in politics and electoral matters in Nigeria. As the Electoral College of Nigeria, he founded as Africa's first school of politics and governance. He has trained over 1,000 Nigerians for free on its 28 course models spanning political and governance, has worked on interventions for the Electoral Act 2022 and a few other pieces of legislation. Kule Lawal is one of the most televised Nigeria and key to issues of national decisions and more so explanations on legislation, governance, and policy. So, class, with our welcome, we would like to welcome the ED, Kule Lawal. Welcome, sir. Hello, ED.
Good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. Sorry, it's an issue. I was trying to share It's always great to have you guys. Talia, you are who has trained 1,000 people. Assuming you're undermined, but I'll stop that too.
Sorry.
Anyway, just I'd like everybody to give me a second. I'll just get this slide. I was actually trying to do something and I mistakenly tapped something else. So I'll get this slide open in a bit so that we can proceed with the class. So good day, everyone. It's always a pleasure to have you all here. I know that the classes are coming towards an end, and we look forward to having you guys graduate. That's those that, of course, have participated within the course and met the requirements of the course. I'm very grateful for the kind of input you guys have given and where we also plan to be now. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome you all to the class. So the psychology of politics. Now, it's normally assumed by most Nigerians, and I think one of the greatest mistakes is the critical assumption that we think that we know politics. So you ask the average person, and it's not a bad thing actually. It's just that when you look at it clearly, the assumption we know actually puts us in a quagmire. So the average Nigerian, let's talk about politics. I know politics. My uncle has run for office. I was there. Waiting. I read political science. I did it. The reality on the field is a total game. And, people think there's no strategy or no wap to it, or there's no buzz to it, or there's no click to it. There's no way it works. Politicians are strategic. I'll give you something. It is political for you to even think one senator is performing better than another, except it's on the parameters of the kinds of legislation and legislation passed. But most people say, no, I prefer the senator, I prefer this governor, I prefer. It's all in the warped feel of how things are. You might not like that particular candidate, but guess what? Other people might. He just might appeal to a lot of other people. Let's look at the presidential race, for example. There was Atiku, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. There was Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. There was Peter Obi. There was Ulu Adebayo, the SDP. There was Kola Abiola, PRP. There was this guy of the ADC, Kachuku of the ADC, and there were a few others. Each had their own strategy or their own plans to how they would appeal to others. Now, because one candidate doesn't appeal to you, doesn't mean that he doesn't understand the psychology of politics, or he might just assume that your kind of people or your kind of thought process are not enough for him to win an election. So there are people that when you see some politicians saying, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm going to throw out the tribal card." What was the common slang then? Yoruba Runwe. And then somebody chose that, you're like, come on, we're a little bit too advanced for that. Okay, you fall into the 1% of Nigerians. We fall just within the 1% of Nigerians. And if you're going to look at it on the larger scale, Peter Obi will say, okay, you know what? It's time for God to come into governance. I'm not exactly putting those words, but you notice there's a tilt. Church should stand up, and this, that. Atiku Abubakar, we've been there before. He's never lost the primaries. He's fought for government. He's been a vice president. He's most ready for the job. He knew he was speaking to a particular set of people, and this all come into the system in which we know as the psychology of politics, and there are myths and realities of politics. And we'll go over all this before this course. So I'd like to welcome you all to class. And I look forward to a great time with you guys as usual. As usual, I want my classes interactive. Meanwhile, before I continue, Maureen, are you there? Hello, Maureen. Is Maureen there, Charlie?
Yes, it is.
Yes, she's here, but I don't know. She's not responding.
Okay. So anyway, Lisa, I just wanted to say that if we have a list that reaches 40 people that pass this course with a certificate, me and you
I'm
have
here,
something
sir.
to Maureen, if I see up to 40 people passing this class entirely, we'll have a discussion. No problem. Back to what I was saying. Because there are only 26 in class now, and I've rated all my classes. So I know the average numbers. So no offense, it's just me doing my ED work. So first slide, I hope everybody can see my slide. If you can, you could just put in the chat box, you could see it. Okay, so a brief introduction. Now we all know what politics is. So there is a psychology to politics, not a mystic science. And also this is made elusive to give the game of power its mystery and fear. Now, most people will tell you, politics is a dangerous game. It's this, it's that. The people that are telling you politics is a dangerous game, they don't have two heads. I'm sure most people assume, before I ran for Senate, I used to think that for you to be able to run for Senate, you probably have to, bath inside something. Okay, let's get Nigeria now. Let's stop forming all these things. I'll assume you need to bath inside something. Or you need to, belong to now those people that used to go at night and kill goats on bridges, or vice versa. But till you step into the game, you'll now be opened into the exact reality. And these guys are no different from you. They hustle for power, they hustle for votes. It's the same. I think the only difference is maybe the access they have to financing their own elections, and that's what stops you from winning an election. But now, before you even think of the psyche of the people running, which is something a lot of us do, let's talk about the psyche of the people that are Nigerian. The average Nigerian wants to point to a set of people and say, hello, those are they. We are we, because we are unique. And that's why you have caucuses, even as we have political parties. I know that within your political parties, within your political parties and your WhatsApp groups, you have people that call each other more. You have people that discuss more. You have people that You know, anything that happens, they'll talk about us in the group and how the group will go and then plan and come back. We all do it. Come on, I do it. So there's a psychology to it. And once you know the way we speak Nigerians think, you will now know why we have the kind of leaders we have. So we are this is us, they are they. Which means that anytime you enter a prism that represents a particular unit in Nigeria, be it religion, tribe, local government, state, you're able to play a card. And this card works. We do it even in our markets, we do it in our banks, we do it in different places. I didn't know you're from my state. This one is my sister, this one is my tribe. It's like we play it. It's not a bad thing. But you can't have that kind of system and then ask the politicians that are in the game not to use it to their advantage. You dictated the rules of the game. So that's why we always tell you that the culture of the people or the actions of the people is responsible for the kind of politicians they have. Most people think it's the other way. No, if we have a firm politician on top, this, that, you shout, everybody will shake. I'm politician. Let me give you a small makeup. We try to calculate one of the classes I had with you, number of politicians put together. Not that many now. We've got an average of about 10,000, if I remember, or a little over 10,000. I just know they're not up to 20,000. So people that are leading you, and that is a 0.005 fraction if you're looking at the population of 200 million. It's poor. So where exactly are we as Nigerians? So back to the psychology of the people. Next, the average Nigerian is a show-off. I'm sorry, we are not in Africa for it. Does collect your soap, collect your crown, take it as you are. We are actually a show-off, a race, we are not a race, but a show-off people. The average Nigerian will not key into a politician. He doesn't come in with, because people run now, yes. We all do it everywhere. We do it in every sphere. When somebody comes to one of your mates comes to your old school reunion, and he's kind of different, he smells nice. This is the guy that was very dirty that time, then comes with a brand new Jeep, steps down, looking really suave. You already get intimidated. That's the Nigerian way. So it's Nigerian for us to expect our politicians to come in that certain way. Those people say, I want humble politicians. I was a humble politician. I will tell you what the reception was. So reception is always totally different. And at that point, you get to see what kind of people we exactly are, the kind of thoughts we have when we're dealing with our egoism and our search for the big man. And that's also something that, kind of politicians have also learned to play within that prism and say, you know what? I'll have to create a persona larger than life. I'll tell you something. So 2023, preceding 2023, a few of us that ran in 2019 were on the group. Let me not say a few of us, a lot of us that ran in 2019 are on the group. And, they're talking, how 2019, I'm running, I'm not running, the work I'm doing now is more, it's more focused on governance. I'll have to take a break on this one. That was what I said. And then, everybody was, and then somebody just said, man, the only thing I need something, but for me to run, I have the money to run, but I need something to run to complete it. I'm like, I was, say, bros, I need a scandal. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? He said, he needs a scandal. But the moment he said it, all of us being politicians laughed. You think politicians don't use scandals? It's not that they don't have scandals, it's not that they're intentional, but how has the scandals affected them? The present governor of Kaduna State once had quite a video. Cannot even state what went on in that video. We all remember Senator Abu Elishama and the sex shop and beating up a woman. We remember Dino Melaya and his usual climbing tree and stuff. How did that affect him politically? And the list is endless, goes on and on and on. What a scandal does for you, because of the kind of people we are in Nigeria, it's like you are talked about. I heard the latest scandal is, I'm up to date small now. You should give you some kudos. Latest scandal is the video. And I'm happy, man. It's the first time I don't know what's happening. I just know the trend. So let's leave it at that. I don't even know what they are discussing. I just know the video is flying on timeline. But whatever it is, I will tell you, you have those that love the video on one side, and you have those that dislike the video on one side. But the key part is that if he releases a song now that has something to even do with this scandal that he's in, it's going to sell. Do you know why? We are a nation of scandals. We love it. Nigerians have the ability to pretend so well that you think they don't even know how the inside of a lounge looks or how a bottle of drink looks. But trust me, Nigerians drink the most on the continent, one of the most in the world. In a nation where we abhor, let me use the professional word, say we tend to abhor or hide reproduction sequences by humans. We actually consume, I think, top 5 of most condoms used in the world. We have it's crazy. So we are a scandalous nation, and that is why having a scandal thrives. Everybody, people that didn't know Yul Edochie went to read the Yul Edochie story when he started with his side chick. And it was more important than RMFAC, who was trying to introduce political salaries for political officers, which has been going on since 2020. But till it was coming to your doorstep and there was no scandal, that's when Nigerians like, what? You want to do this after taking subsidy? No, it wasn't from subsidy. Actually, it's been existent since 2020. But you did nothing. And therein lies the problem, where we do nothing. Anyway, there's no mystic to running for office. To run for office, you need to only do one thing, and that's understand your electorate. And on that, people wonder, they're giving stomach infrastructure. Are we that? Come. You want us to tell the truth? Let's tell the truth. If he says he's running for office today, Lisa that would have built websites for ED before for 10K, Lisa will build it for 1 million. Lisa won't be laughing at me. I've chopped my own. Maureen, you never chop your own. Where Maureen own now? Maureen, just she now you the assist ED. Those they go pack your own. Charlie, I will be there saying, when maybe I'm running for president, so let me make it look like I reach everywhere. So Charlie, I was and I made the plan entry for Plateau. Don't worry, the billboard, poster, everything, I don't cover them. Don't send them invoice. Everything will enter my pocket. You know, it's a win-win. And so why do you think you're different from the grassroots? You're not any different. What is just exchanged is higher. You're not any different. And that's something I try to tell people. They're always bought mostly on this thing. And when I say bought, I don't mean you, but if you put the average 1 in 2 Nigerians, you know what I'm talking about. So let's move on to the next slide. Now the game. So like I always say, most people think politics is about money. This will shock you that politics exactly isn't about money. Wow. Wait, I don't know what happened. Guys, hello, can you see my screen? Hello.
Yes, we can.
The PowerPoint is still showing.
It is.
I don't know what's wrong, but this just messed up. I don't know what happened just now. Everything just switched to something, and it's showing me okay, it went off and refused. Okay, it's back. Sorted that out. So everybody assumes that it's about money. Now, it's going to be shocking for you to find out money really isn't the biggest thing in politics. Influences. That's why if Lisa's father was a local government chairman and Kune's father was just a carpenter, and both of us, even though we're both suave running for office, Lisa will beat me because her father's influence will pay for something. Her name pays for something. Influence is the biggest thing in politics. It isn't money. Well, with the number of times Atiku has lost, I think it's clear to say, no offense to Atiku and the PDP, but it's clear to say that money is not everything in politics. And this is something we've discussed at length. And even if you come down to smaller elections, to seeing some House of Rep elections, you find out it's not about money. Money is good for elections, but it's not everything. The key player is the influence you have, and that is what matters. For some people in this election, NMPP became an influence, Labour Party became an influence, and it made them rise to break foundations, stones. Can imagine somebody like Senator Okunife in Anambra losing an election to a small boy of Labour Party. Okunife, per votes. No. Anyway, let's not talk about things we're not supposed to talk about. So in the game, influence, money comes, and strategy. Influence comes first, money comes next, then strategy is 25%. Comms is 11%. Depends on how you can communicate with people. But communication is never really, you might not really like Bola Tinubu, but almost he has a following. Comms might be bad, but it makes up in other places. That's with influence, money, and strategy. You might not see, but you roughly would give it to him on those parameters. Now, of course, comms is very interesting. Everybody knows what money does in politics. There's no need to discuss it. Communication in politics is very key. I noticed something, and I think it was last election. Lisa, what party was the person who won the position, the electoral position? What party was the person from? Charlie, are you there? Okay, whichever. Who won you guys last election? Somebody can just. You said?
Abga.
Abga, right? Was it Abga?
Yeah.
That was for governor, right? Hello?
It was the AAC.
AAC. I knew it wasn't. Now the AAC didn't seem like a party that looked strong enough. If I'm right, they had one of the least members in the party groups. Am I right, Charlie?
Yes, yes.
Where do you used to disappear to? Is there a delay in my voice? So there's AAC was able to pull it, and this is looking at within just your parameter. But their candidate could deliver. His speech was good. I'll be honest. I remember I handled that debate, and he came across quite well. I must say his communications was good. Put together with the strategy the party put together, it was a win. So I was just trying to show you how strategy works. So strategy is always understanding what you have to deal with. And it was good to see a party that I've expected, the PDP or ABGA, winning that election, taking a shot in the foot. No offense to the chairman of ABGA and chairman of PDP. You are doing a nice job, but now who win, we go celebrate. No verse, eh? No verse. So they did a good job with communications and strategy as regards the campaign. It will yield fruit. It will yield fruit, and that's what it was. And it was good to see that happen in the cohort. So strategy, money, influence, and those are things that could help alter the psyche of voters, or generally the thought process of the electorate. Now, there are a lot of foundations for myths in politics. So everybody seems to know politics, but nobody knows how it actually works. So that's poor political literacy being the first. So we can't continue to hammer poor political literacy. It's a case where I've disagreed with. It's not the educational system. It's Nigerians that don't care. Come on, if you know where Davido's side chick is from, then why don't you know some parts of the electoral act? The priorities we've given to what is important to us and what we think isn't. Next will be defects in the fourth estate. And I'm always on the media over this. The media is ready to come out with anything emotional and just to sound sensational and cost people understanding what actually governance is or where exactly they are headed as a citizenry or as an electorate. The fourth estate is good, and you have a lot of guys that you love within the fourth estate. There are some reporters, some people just have developed a cult following because they just say anything they want to say. Sometimes they are right, but I need to make it clear to you that sometimes they are wrong. I can tell you that if today I went to Twitter and started insulting the government with reckless abandon, I can guarantee you that my followers will increase from the Kikini followers that are following Kunle Lawal to quite a mass following. If I start doing that on TV, government go punish Nigeria, the president, anarchy, let it burn. That's what people want to hear. And the fourth estate is key at doing that sensationalism so that things happen. In that, they build myths about politics, which aren't basically true. No political party has an ideology. Who told you that? Before you can say that, read the constitutions of every political party. If you haven't done that, then you should shut up. But it's common, people that we follow and worship online as political gurus will come and tell you political parties don't have ideology. You don't join a political party, no. Have you participated in a political party? No. Have you read the constitution? No. Have you followed the patterns of the party? No. But you want to come out and say they don't have ideology. If you've not cared enough to understand the ideology of the party, then what do you want the party to do? You want the ideology of the constitution to stand up and hit your head. So these are the effects the fourth estate has brought into midst of politics. Now, influential perspective over, that was bad spelling. Anyway, pardon me. Influential perspectives overriding individual thoughts. Now, when you're Daddy Gio or Mommy Gio on social media, because we have them, there are people that can never be wrong. And their perspectives and different, and they say this is how this is how this is. Most of us just are yes men, yes. Hoping to be favored in one giveaway or the other. But what we actually sacrifice is our political intelligence, and then allowing these influential perspectives create their own narratives of what actually is, and which necessarily might not be grounded or founded on anything that is constitutionally true. If you notice, they all talk about the president. None of them has the right to talk about governors or to even come down to local government and discuss such matters. We talk about policies from hurting the people, masses are dying. You know what? Who is dying first? And then this leads us to the false assumption of knowledge, which is normally what these influencers, as we call them, have. The false assumption of knowledge of the way things work, of the way things are being structured politically, or the organization of most things. Another key thing for the found of myths in politics is emotional responses to issues. I always drum on this. Politics is not emotional. The moment you start talking politics, people get, no, it cannot be like that. No, I'm entitled to my opinion. Yes, you are entitled to your opinion. But your opinion is limited to your knowledge. And people don't want to hear that. You can't have an opinion superior to the amount of knowledge you've amassed on a particular subject. It's just like I don't expect a student in a secondary school trying to solve the explosion of atoms in nuclear physics. I'm not saying it's not possible, but a very rare case of high intelligence. Your opinion is limited to your exact knowledge. So before you engage someone else, sit down and think, how much do I know about this particular topic? My answers, are they emotional or are they logical? Did I consider governance and the entire spectrum before I made this statement? We don't do that. And so we always give, I voted PDP. So man, whoever is in power now is useless, the person going to die, PDP or nothing. Ah man, Labour was cheated, man. The whole election was scam. Even the one who won governor, man, is scam. Wait, the one you won governor is not scam, but the other ones are scam, man. That means if all of it is scam, all of it is scam. It cannot be selective scam. Say no, we fought for this one, you fought where, or you rigged better. Let me be honest with you, all the parties rigged, but that's another conversation. So back to poor understanding of the system and the constitution. That's another big problem, and I think I don't need to flog on this. These are topics we've gone over as regards discuss. Then the culture of slavery from military rule. You know, if you look at, especially between age 50 to 65, they barely know anything about democracy, and they make very funny statements, and they just talk. That's because they're not yet used to democracy. They've lived a good part of their lives, not most of their lives, under military rule. So to start to explain a democracy to them and how a democracy should function, it's kind of hard, because the key thing, and which still, forms the repertoire of our general political conversations, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President, that is so military rule. So many people to discuss about: your councillor, your local government chairman, your state house assembly, your senator, your house of rep, your governor. For military, Mr. President, that's because everything, the buck stops at Mr. President. So Mr. President just has in the military role, just has the Armed Forces Military Council, the FRC around him. But he just sits down like this. And then, you can, in some cases, the military ruler is wearing some very dark glasses. You can sit down, and then they tell him everything. And he wakes up next morning, makes a speech after they discuss how they increase salaries, and he's just angry. They ask to dissolve. NLC dissolved. Everybody dissolved. And that's the slavery we carried, to start thinking that the president is that powerful as he was in the military. So now start doing. We're not saying Nigerian president is not powerful, but it's not as powerful as we've created the myth of Nigerian president today. So these are the foundations of myths that we have in politics. And here are some of the myths. Politics is for a few. I don't think we should overflog this, but there's a general assumption that we think that politics is only for a few people. Politics, now then Kunle Lawal don't try, that kind of thing. I beg that thing. We are way too far. Who told you that? Your way is not far. There's no difference between you and Kunle Lawal. The only difference, I think, is that Kunle Lawal is ready to take a risk you are not ready to take. Or Kunle Lawal is ready to invest his time in something that you're not ready to invest in your time. Another myth is that politicians are special. I've met politicians from top to ground, presidential candidates, gubernatorial, governors who have served now as governors, presidents. I met all of them, and the truth is, and boom, just like me, just like everybody in this room. There's nothing special to them. They just have put in a considerable amount of effort, earned a considerable amount of influence, been able to use that influence to draw a particular amount of money to back them to get into office. Because there's nothing special about politicians. They've just taken risks that you haven't taken. Politics is local. I'll define this thing because it's a common thing in Nigeria. Because it means always go to the grassroots. Many people have won elections without going to any grassroots. So what exactly is politics is local? Politics is local means that you must have an interpersonal relationship with the constituents you hope to lead. That's all it simply means. We've translated it, politics is local. Once you say politics is local, somebody will carry himself and go and register in political party in his village that he doesn't go to except his Christmas. Except his grandmother dies and grandfather dies. Or somebody that's carry it and go and register there. Then he carry through his thing, his word in his village, and his friends will hail him, hey, politics is local. Who do you know there? Do you even know your party chairman? Can you even organize party meeting in that place? Politics is local. Anyway, let me not get angry. We won't flog it. Politicians know the game. Most of the time, politicians just wade through the game of politics or through the map of politics. I saw the way the G5 governors behaved during the elections. They didn't know where it was swaying. They just, navigate navigate the waters. They're not as you think they are politically savvy. Sometimes the winds of change are strong, and you can't really place or balance what exactly is going on. Another common myth is that the electorate are smart. God damn, smart enough to make weak choices. This electorate are smart is made by, it's a common myth for highly intellectual politicians. They're not smart. Don't give them too much. Don't even give them credit. They don't deserve it. Now, a lot of people mistake politics and governance as the same. We've done politics and governance, so I'd expect us to be defining this particular thing. It's a common mistake, common error within people in office, within Nigerians generally. They cannot differentiate it. Every minute it's APC, PDP, PDP, APC, APC, PDP, Labour. Now, Labour and NPP have joined. So even the argument now is why that we even don't know what they're talking about again, because they just be abusing each other, breaking down, demolishing buildings, etc., etc. Political parties have no ideology. I think I've flogged this thing so much, I don't need to talk about it. The constitution is the problem. Yes, when you haven't read it, the constitution is the problem. Grassroots are the problem. Yes, when the middle class have refused to impute what they are supposed to impute. All of you in Lekki did not go and vote. All of you in Maitama did not go and vote. All of you in Rayfield did not go and vote. Yet you want the grassroots to dictate and present to you the Obama of that election. All of you are not normal. Sorry, but sometimes when Nigeria, I think that point makes me a little touchy and emotional. Let me remove the emotion from that. But it's funny, making the same mistake and expecting a different result. So I'll move on to the next slide. Now, these are the realities, and the few realities I put together. It's not like there aren't more. Just the middle class circumvents democracy. I think I've spoken about this so much. They're the ones passing money to the grassroots. They're the ones not listening or not politically savvy, don't even understand what's going on. The players and the parties are the problem. I don't. The players are not the parties are the problem. I think I don't know how to say this more. It's always who. APC is not a bad party. PDP is not a bad party. Labour Party is not a bad party. NMPP is not a bad party. ADC is not a bad party. SDP is not a bad party. ABGA is not a bad party. NRM is not a bad party. Which other? AAC is not a bad party. Right, nine more. They should chill. They're not bad parties. Most politicians and electorate are ignorant. That's also a misnomer. Politicians are not stupid as you think they are. They probably have learned to play you better. Sometimes even playing stupid works, especially in Africa. Then next, the reality, local government is kidnapped by the state. I don't need to repeat this. I've spoken about this multiple in different classes of being. Accountability is holistic and not to government alone. And, we need to start seeing things that way. Politics isn't governance. That's the last thing I said. National Assembly and state houses are asleep. That is your reality. I don't think we need to log on. This cost of governance is high, too high for our nation based on the average GDP or average living, or what the average Nigerian can live with, or the minimum wage. Tenacity wins elections. I cannot oversay it. This is the biggest currency to have in politics. I think that these things are clear and well cut. Everybody has a slide, so I don't think this is a classes that we should plug over. So now in conclusion, countries are defined territorial boundaries, while nations are people unified by Nigeria. So I'm going to ask a question to everybody, and I want this personal assignment being submitted to the class, submitted to the what they call it, to the group. With submission will, hello.
Yes, I can
Hello? What happened, Charlie?
Yes, I was in Telegram group.
You said?
The
Yes,
Telegram
on the Telegram group. Yes. I want everybody to drop with your name and your party. What is missing in Nigeria? This is a poser. I'm not expecting anything long. Please, anybody that plans to write 2 pages, I will not read it. I beg. I'm struggling with old age. That's the truth. But I don't want to read a long pager. It's just 4 lines or 5. What's missing in Nigeria? And with this poser, I'd like to tell everybody thank you for listening to the class. And thank you for the time you spent. And I'll be open to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Edie, for the class. It's always interesting, always an eye-opener. And at least at this junction, we have questions. Okay. Salas, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Good evening, Edie. It's
evening,
always
Salas.
nice having you in class, sir, and
Thank you,
educating every time. Yeah, I'm one of the people that says political parties in Nigeria don't have ideology, but I think you have unraveled the myth in my mind. But still, we have not seen them push their ideology in their behavior, in their style of governance, and this thing. I know they would have it on paper and in writing in their constitution. They have ideologies, but we don't see them exhibiting it in the person of the candidates they come out with as party members. Like their party members should have is in your person, you should exhibit some form of ideology of your party to say, oh, we're progressive people. When you're in charge of maybe not even a political office, the way you act in that office, even if you're a civil servant, we should see progress if you say you belong to a progressive party. So what would you say? Is there any party in Nigeria that has exhibited the ideology they claim to have in their party?
Thank you very much, Silas. And this is a very good question. And I believe it's one that I've answered without actually, and saying this is how it is. But I've answered that not in this class, but I think in a previous class. Now, I need to critically state that we are in a country where I think Hope Uzodinma, was it Hope Uzodinma? No, it wasn't. It was a Ebonyi State governor, I think, not Imo. It was a Ebonyi State governor. He just joined the APC, and they asked him whether he had what made him join. Was it the constitution of the APC? And his answer was, "I've not yet read the constitution." That is the country we are in. That is the country we are in. So people don't read the constitution of the parties. They don't even understand why the parties. Do you know why? Because the people don't even demand to know what exactly you are promising. And we haven't reached a point where membership. So, there's a question I always ask people: what is being done with the high amounts of? I made a calculation of the average money. Excuse me. Of the average money a political party receives during an election cycle. Do you know parties cut away as much as the smaller? There's no small party, but the mushroom parties, they cut away about 1.4 billion in money bought from forms. Bigger parties go up to 30-40 billion in forms, cost of forms being sold. The reason why political parties aren't able to sell an ideology is because the candidates are paying delegates, are paying forms. When they finish, they run their race, and when they win it, they cannot follow a party ideology because they did the thing themselves. In other countries where this works, what happens is that you don't need to raise money. The party will say, "Oh, this guy will be a good representative for us in the Senate." They pick you, they sponsor you, and they make you. So you must follow their rules. Hence the disconnect between party ideology and candidates in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the candidate does all the work. Party is just for you to drop money and go to office. So I think I've tried to compress it, Silas. I hope you got it from what I said. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, sir. Well, a follow-up question would be, or the main question is there any party that has even tried a teensy bit to push an
Yes,
ideology?
a lot of parties have tried it, but you guys didn't buy it. While I was in Core Party, we did quite a lot of work on that. While I was in Alliance for New Nigeria, right? You didn't buy it now. What do you want me to say it again now? Alliance for New Nigeria, we tried to sell that our general party was open to capitalism. We're very, very open to, well structured for reducing the civil service. We tried to sell, we were cutting costs in governance. We held these conversations. That was what Fela Durotoye was standing for. I stood for at the time. And there was also YPP, Young People's Party. I remember then Kingsley Moghalu in 2019 was the presidential candidate. And they had quite some ideologies. They believed in an agrarian economy. They believed in the power of demand and supply, etc., etc. And this party sold you things, but you refused to buy the product. What do you want us to do? If somebody is selling something and you refuse to buy it, there's nothing. The company will close up. So maybe the people are okay with the status quo. I just enter, and now that I've said, if I get to run for office again, if that ever happens, I'll just say, man, look, as I just entered this village, man, I'll declare pop. Hey God, this thing is recorded. I'll just declare pop all over like this. I'll just send one Warabina to everybody in the village. Maybe they party. That's what Nigerians want to hear. I was joking there. Okay, so thank you very much, Silas.
Okay. Okay, Cynthia, I've asked you to unmute. You can go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you, Chyla. My submission is more of an addendum to what was just asked and discussed, as well as a question. As regards the parties that you just highlighted with ideologies, you realize that those were the new, what I would call new age parties. Those are the parties that ideologies could be specifically deciphered and could be understood from afar. I remember you saying in the beginning that you need influence, money, and you mentioned strategy and communications. Whether or not, especially understand, and you said we need to understand the electorate. So whether or not the electorate refuses to read their constitutions, to appeal, if the end goal was to appeal to the electorate, not bribe the electorate, I expect that a lot more in communication should be done so that we understand their ideologies. And I'm not talking about ANN or YPP. I'm talking about the big wigs, the big parties that matter right now. So I still believe that the understanding of, or the impression that that political parties don't have ideologies stem from that fact, bearing on those major political parties who have failed to really exhibit what their ideologies are, either in character or in the way that they communicate. But that's just, like I said, an addendum. Okay.
Cynthia, let me try to tell you why. Cynthia,
okay.
if you've used a particular key and it opens a particular door, and somebody told you that another key opened the door, because you've used this normal key, you keep using the same key. So what has happened with the PDP and the APC is that, do you know that Cynthia would, no offense, I'm just using you as an example. You might be a PDP and APC member. So Cynthia will not vote for PDP and APC. They are not looking for your votes. They don't care about your votes. You rather go and get, for every Cynthia, let's say Cynthia is from Delta State, for every Cynthia that has sense like this, they will go and capture 500 people in your village. That's 500 votes. Remember, as intelligent as you are, Cynthia, you are 1 vote. And that's what they're not ready to change the game. It's a winning formula. Till somebody can beat them at that game using another formula that works better, they will continue using the same trick. It's worked, it's tested, it's proven. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is not to say, Cynthia, I'm supporting them. I'm not supporting. I'm just opening the matter for you to understand. Is that okay? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Cynthia.
Okay, I couldn't unmute. Once you mute, you can't unmute again. Okay, so yes, so that's fine. So I understand where you were coming from in saying that, because I was trying to explain why people just assume they don't have ideologies. Because, I mean, when you talk about they being the majority of the electorate, I mean, the political space, yes, they kind of dictate the tune. The second question, my second submission is a question. So I remember during, and this is,
Is it me or I can't hear Cynthia again?
Yeah, it should
Hello?
be her network.
we remember there was a position
Cynthia,
you made.
Cynthia, we missed everything you said. So you have to take it from the top.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There was a position that was put forward about non-submission of the reports by one party in our last elections, which greatly influenced the success of the AAC, which we celebrate for winning the governorship elections. Was there a reason why that decision was rescinded?
Rescinded. That's as regards the party was to be taken out of the elections, but the party was now left for balance, right? If I'm right. Cynthia, am I right?
Yes,
Talia, please,
that's
am I
yes,
right?
yes. That is exactly, because you talked about communications and all other strategies of the AAC, which yes was laudable, but the great influence was the fact that they were able to have the support of a party that everybody expected to have been dissolved and added to other party members. Yeah, that's the question.
Cynthia, politics works to everyone's advantage in different parameters. The decision to by the college to rescind that action was taken by myself and Lisa, and I think with following the electoral act, the best things that we know to the latter, we made the best decision. I would say, and I will clearly say, I use the AAC as an example of when I was talking about politics, not to lord over. And I said, I begged you people that don't get into this. It's not, I'm just trying to, I use them because it's an example that is at home. I'll tell you one thing that was exceptionally critical with the AAC candidate, whether you like it or not. Put against other candidates, and this is not me trying to play anyone down, put against every other candidate. He spoke at a far higher level than anyone. And if I'm right, if Lisa is here, Lisa will tell you that even during the debates, I marked him and said, this guy, he knows what he's saying. That does not win an election, but I'm saying he puts in the effort. And which is why I kept mentioning he had his communication right. So I don't think a party would want to support you because based on one deal. You also have to have sold them the idea that you do good enough for both of them, and that matters.
Hello?
Cynthia, yeah, is that okay? I'm here.
Yeah, you're the ED, yeah, it's okay.
It's not I'm the ED. You are trying to say I'm wrong, and I'm going to tell you that.
No,
as
I just feel we should have.
You're asking me this question. I feel like carrying
Okay, I'm
scissors by
fine.
reducing the marks that I gave you earlier. If you know me.
We can go on to other questions. I'm loyal to the government, ED.
Thank you very much. Sorry,
All right, thank you
very much. Moses, you can go ahead.
Okay, good evening, ED. Good evening, everyone. It's always good to have you on sessions with us. Thank you so much. So my question is this: when you were mentioning, or when you mentioned some of the foundations of some of these myths that we have in politics, I was now thinking about the media, right? So is it justifiable to also put the media as one of the foundations of some of these myths? Because if you see what some media outfits they try to propagate, especially during before and during elections, you find out that they send certain negative tendencies and so on that send some negative signals to people. So can we also see the media is also one of the foundations for some of these myths?
Moses, I cannot say this more clearly. I wish I could stand on top a mountain top and scream. 80% for me of the problems we have in politics and political literacy in Nigeria is media orchestrated. Because first and foremost, when the politicians are going to say something that's not true, and they use the media, be it print, electronic, they use the media. When people are arguing politics and barking like dogs on the station, they use the media. When things that are absolutely preposterous to governance are being mentioned, it's always on the media. I feel the media contributes at least 80% of the problems we have in political literacy, and is responsible for the myths that we have. You have political correspondents that don't even know what fact means. You have political correspondents that do not understand. Do you know I have been on, and this is sad, I've been on what they call it, on a TV station, and I said section 41, subsection 2, and the person interviewing me said, yes, and that part of the constitution was mentioned a lot during whatever section 41 verse 2. I was like, and I thought it was common error, and the person repeats the same thing. Imagine what people would think if the person had been reporting constitution and calling it verse instead of subsection. So there are a lot of critical anomalies I think that the media is highly to blame for. I'm always unhappy when I'm on TV and on radio, and I have those kind of guys talking that way. I've always stood against those kind of parameters, and I've always warned them that what they were doing wasn't in the best interest of Nigerians.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Moses. Thank you very much, Moses.
Okay, we have one question in the chat box by Smith. He says, the issue of party loyalty is alarming, especially in my state. This ideology of party is supreme. How do we curb the effects of the party influencing governance?
I don't understand, because it's a vehicle to office. I think what we need to do is create the kind of laws that will not allow for parties to seem supreme. Because as it is, okay, APC won the elections. It's only APC guys going to get appointed. No, that's not what it does. The work is for Nigerians. So Nigerians should get appointed into appropriate positions to get things done. But the way we've always done it is if PDP wins, PDP carries. If Labour Party wins, carries its people. Nobody votes Nigerians nobody picks Nigerians for appointments to do things. So I think for me, that's where the problem is. A party cannot be supreme. The only time a party is supreme is in communism. That's the only system of government that allows for parties to be supreme. And anybody that says it to you should tell them that the only time that exists is in the communism. So we want to go to Chairman Mao's China or Xi Jinping's China, where the party is supreme, can go back, or North Korea's great party leader Kim Jong-un, or whatever we want to discuss. That's the only time party is supreme. Party cannot be supreme in a democracy, because the freedom of expression and the tenets of democracy do not allow a party to be supreme. And that's the truth. Thank you very much.
Okay, Cynthia, I've asked you to unmute. I don't know if you still have more questions. Cynthia, can you hear me? Okay. So that is all for today's class. I think Edie have done justice to the whole topic, and it's actually insightful. Thank you very much, sir.
Very much, Charlie. I think Amira has a hand up. Considering, okay, Cynthia, the woman has asked the question. So
okay. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Amira. Okay, I wrote the statement in the group already. but it wasn't picked, and I realized the class was about to end. That's why I decided to raise my hand. So I'm just trying to address what Cynthia brought up earlier. So I had to look for the part of the the Telegram group where you wrote the statement. So your statement was, as regard NMPP, for a non-submission, I would issue -7 from all its members. Post-election, NMPP would be collapsed into other parties depending on
Keyword
how
post-election. Keyword
exactly.
post-election.
So technically, the NMPP were still fully partisan
But I
of the
see it
election.
part in the game, yeah. So it
Yes.
wasn't an
So I just
anomaly.
wanted to clarify that.
Thank you very much. Chairman of one party has already mobbed me. Thank you very much. I couldn't remember the exact details, but I know that we fully stuck to the basics of the game. Thank you very much, Amira.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Cynthia, do you want to say something? Cynthia. I'll Cynthia say what you want to say.
I don't think she has anything to say. Okay.
Okay then, guys. Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure joining you guys. I hope you guys are bumped up for your presidential election. I really have the feeling I'm going to miss Cohort XI. It's coming to a close. I look forward to, doing really great things with you guys and, getting to work with some of you that will pick into the region. Thank you, everyone. And of course, it's always a great class. I think you don't see me again till your last class. So till then, thank you very much, everyone. Cheers.
Okay. Edie, please, when is the submission of the assignments?
The assignment should be submitted. Campaign starts when?
Monday.
Monday they should all submit during the weekend. That's Monday morning to Sunday, 8 p.m.
Okay. Thank you, Edie. Okay, thank you everyone for coming out for class today. So see you all tomorrow and enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.